I've only got a handful of these for the primary budget committee members, but I'll give a quick summary. As most of you know, we are in the midst of upgrading our 911 system. The way that system works is there's a surcharge that goes on hardline phones across the state. It builds up essentially a bank account, and every X amount of years, in theory, there should be enough money for us to get all new equipment. So the 911 equipment that's in place, the last time we were only eligible for a freshening up, as it were. So they reconditioned our stuff. So this time we're online for all new equipment. So the good news is there's about $255,000 worth of money in the bank for that project. The bad news is as this technology gets more and more expensive, it's going to take that plus to pull off this the project this time. So all of the primary 911 equipment, those checks are written at the state. That money will never come here. We don't have to pass it through. We don't have to wait for reimbursement. So that's the good news. The difficulty is some of the other stuff, like the mapping piece that goes with 911. So if somebody calls 911 from a cell phone right now, we get lat and long. We get a really good idea where the call's coming from. So the new GIS piece, we have to front that money. That's about 23 grand. That's already in the state's payback plan for us, and so that money we will definitely get back. The other stuff is the stuff that we can't. Well, we could recoup, but all of the money gets gobbled up with the new 911 positions. So we talked about this last year. We thought this project would be moving ahead. We actually thought we were going to get this knocked out in 15, 16. But with the way we put this project together, it's a joint project with Plumas County Dispatch Center. We are going to link our two dispatch centers via fiber optic from here to Quincy. And of course, the advantage there is Plumas is in the same boat we're in. There's a lot of times they only have one dispatcher working in the wee hours of the morning. And sometimes that's plenty, but it's only plenty until there's a critical incident or there's a car wreck or first thing in the morning there's a puff of smoke on Diamond Mountain and that dispatch center detonates. So it's really challenging to staff that, and they're in the same boat we are. They have one dispatcher a lot of times. So by linking the two dispatch centers, what that's going to give us the ability to do is call Plumas and say, hey, we're all alone, we have a big event, can you help us out? And they will be able to functionally click a tab on their screen, and our radio controller was all done by one software vendor. And so the dispatchers could touch a button on the screen to activate a mountaintop repeater to talk all over our county, touch a different button on the screen to pick up a 911 call. None of the new generation, next gen 911s have that capability. They've split that function out between radio and 911. So as we move ahead, the system we have, they'll be able to decommission the 911 piece of it, and we'll still be able to use that in the immediate term for radio control, but we're going to have to get a new radio controller. And although we talked about it last year, because of all of the intricacies of the joint project, it's just we're not set for cutover now until October. So we have a few things that we're going to have to get knocked out between now and October, and hopefully we have a budget by then. But some things we're going to have to just get done on a quicker timetable. So we didn't want to go to the board and ask for a partial budget adoption because this really is an anomaly. This is a once in about every 7-8 year cycle where we have a purchase of this significance in the dispatch center. So what you'll see is in our equipment line, we have put a marker in for $172,700. Last year we asked for 75. We thought that, and we didn't end up needing it. We haven't spent it. So that's because the project is still incomplete. So just as a frame of reference, the 172 would account for a new radio controller. And again, that may be one of those things, I don't know if the radio control part, because that's $100 grand for the new radio controller. It has to be able to do it for via internet protocol, and it has to have the ability to multitask between two dispatch centers. And so that could be as much as 100. We just got a quick estimate today from Magicom, our vendor. Could be as little as 70. But either way, it's going to be a chunk for that radio controller. That also accounts for furniture. Obviously, the furniture in that dispatch center is as old as the equipment. Well, it's as old as our building. It's about 15 years old now, and it's It's just in a state that we need to replace it. And we really need to reconfigure the dispatch center and make it more user-friendly for multiple, simultaneous events that are going on. And so the furniture won't be reimbursable, but that furniture is about a $40,000 ticket for all new. And of course, those are consoles that are configured specific for dispatch centers. They are configured so they are in a sit-stand scenario, so somebody can either sit for 12 hours or stand for 12 hours or do whatever they need to do, because the desks will raise and lower, so people aren't blocked into either one or the other. So that's 40,000. We're going to have to reconfigure some of the electricity in that room to better set the room up. So of that 172, only 23 of that's reimbursable. Only the GIS piece. So we could spend as much as another 150 grand for the radio controller, for the furniture, for moving the electricity, and all of those things to retro that. And again, and obviously we know that's a ton of money. And sadly, every piece of that is general fund or public safety fund. But I would just stress that this is a once in a 7-8 year funding cycle. And the fact that we're going to have the new hardware, the new equipment, it's important that we make the step with the furniture, with the electricity, with the mapping, with the radio, to update that. I don't think anybody in this room has a computer system in their house that's 8 years old. And this stuff, and that's not by our doing. That's a function of the state and the way that those things are funded. But the updates are mandatory, and there's just no good sense to not take care of the furniture, take care of the radio, take care of the mapping all at the same time. So everything will be on the same cycle, the same maintenance, the same warranty, the same replacement. So that's why we wanted to get in front of the committee today and see if there was any questions, because our plan is to push ahead and get on the Board of Soups agenda and ask for at least a partial budget so we can keep the project moving.
Does the GIS that you guys require, is it the same thing as the planning department, that, because we just had a deal for them today, are they interchangeable with the same company?
I don't know what company you...
It's Esri.
I'd have to look. I just looked at the quote.
Esri and ARC.
No, it's different.
It's probably different.
Yeah, we just had that on the agenda today. So that 172,000 is what you're talking about?
Yes.
The equipment, the full amount?
Yes. And then Richard, the next piece of that question is going to be how we want to address that from really from a reimbursement standpoint with the city. We've continued trying to work out the chinks with. We met with the city administrator and the interim police chief to talk about trying to get that contract advanced. I know that was one of Jared's concerns before, that if we throw down 172, the county throws down that kind of money. I know that he was hoping that there was a way it could be prorated, because it probably has a 5 to 7 to maybe more, year life cycle. Again, I think that's something that, that's probably for you, Jared, to decide how you want to do that.
So could you just update us on the status